Sit back, relax, and join William and Lee on their journey through the strange and mysterious world.
Welcome to Season 2, Episode 3. We're going to be chatting about Saint Germain, the Ascended Master, tonight with Anthea. So it's a part 2 of the last discussion we had. It's part 2, man.
Sweet.
Anyway.
Hello, Anthea.
Anthea, how's it? Welcome back.
Welcome back.
A week later.
Amazing, yeah.
Quick one. Your surname, is that Scandinavian?
No, Torr. Well, it's actually not mine. It's my ex-husband's, but I think it's
Scandinavian.
No,
English.
Is it? I think it's
like
it's like a small hill.
Really?
Like
I thought there was okay. I thought.
The origins might be. I'm not actually sure. To be honestly, I don't really know. I'm a Kenny. My name is Kenny. I'm actually Irish. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I think actually a lot of the even though it might come from England, a lot of England was actually ruled by the Scandinavians for many years. So
exactly, it's probably exactly what it is. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right, cool. So Saint Germain, it is the Ascended Master Saint Germain, who is now in charge of us for the next couple of 2,000 years.
That's right. Exactly.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did he come about? Because there was a podcast we were listening to, William and I, we were actually discussing this way back about Saint Germain, and he appeared, I think one of the appearances he had was in France. He was there for some time, and then he moved somewhere else. I can't remember the whole story, but tell us how he came about. When was his beginnings?
It would be like, there was through all of that stuff that we saw, he was either, immortal, because he kept on showing up in like the most important events throughout history, like the signing of the Declaration, like you said in the last podcast, and like a lot of other things in history with with the whole French Revolution, and he just kept on showing up, and he had the same name, and he always looked young. And they said at parties he would never ever whenever they described him in the past at parties, he would never eat or he would never drink. I don't know if that's just all like a myth that they put around him or whatever. And in our last podcast with you, it was like, oh, maybe you said he appears like almost like Babaji, like in Yogananda's about to be of a yogi, when his yogi just appeared whenever he wanted. So yeah, just tell us, who is Saint Germain? What is he about? Who's Saint Germain?
Okay, well, listen, I don't know the whole story of Saint Germain. Saint Germain could have actually taken his ascension 70,000 years ago. 70,000 years ago, when he was head of a major, very advanced civilization where the Sahara Desert is now. It wasn't a desert then. It was a very verdant, beautiful land. But then again, what happened was that the people became sense conscious instead of God conscious, literally. And then he was actually taken up by, I believe, the great divine director, him and his family. And at that time, but he came back again and again and again. So when we think 70,000 years ago in sort of reality, it's a bit of a blink in the evolution of the earth, because the earth's millions of years old. So, they obviously knew, the great sort of directors of the planetary evolution knew very well that this time would be the time when Saint Germain really needed to be very prevalent and doing what he had to do. He's always been the divine alchemist. It's all about alchemy, because it's changing. And when we talk about the times in Paris, that was the time that was before he ascended. So he actually took his ascension in 1684. So that was from a major, beautiful mansion in Transylvania, Romania. And that was where he did his ascension. And but then he was given this gift, or he was given this dispensation whereby he could come down again. He was given 100 years, could come down again and actually appear in a physical body, which he did. That was when he was known as the Count Saint Germain, and he was mainly in Europe trying to stop the wars with Napoleon. He was very well known. He was a major figure, apparently absolutely marvelous. And he would hold court, and especially with if he was invited to these huge banquets, he would be the one that everyone was listening to. And he's just one of those amazing beings. I mean, they say, let me just get up some of the things. So this is what the Mahachohan says. He says, Saint Germain, having been the one under whose ray and power of action the earth has come at this time, has been your greatest benefactor in more than 2 million years. So it's not just a sort of he's just come on the scene now. He's been at it for millions of years trying to get this earth right, helping Sanat Kumara really. And all these divine beings. I mean, it's not just Saint Germain that can appear in front. It's all the ascended masters, because they are at that stage. Once we reach that ascended state, we are master over energy and vibration, and we can create literally like that a body and appear if we need to.
Did he always take the name of Saint Germain? So, I mean, when he did his appearances...
I don't know. But let me just run through a couple of his, I actually printed out here a couple of his lives, which are recent ones, because they're ones kind of in our history. But I mean, this was 1000 BC. He was Prophet Samuel. Okay. And so that was when he heard God, because he thought it was, God who is God speaking to him as a young child. And he did really help bring the word of God through Prophet Samuel. Okay. Always
that's
a
the biblical Samuel.
Yeah, the biblical Samuel. And then he was the physical father of beloved Jesus, as Joseph.
Okay.
Yeah. And then he was the Greek philosopher Proclus, and that was 400 after AC. And he also again reminded people of their source. And apparently he was one of the greatest intellects that has ever been known in Britain. He's absolutely brilliant. But of course he is. He's Saint Germain. So, and then he was Merlin. That was with King Arthur. Yeah. So even then, he was very much into the divine alchemy. So that's what he's going to bring humanity now. Is this gift of divine alchemy, which is a sacred fire, the violet flame, because we have got a lot of work to do in a very short time in this planet, and it can only be done with spiritual fire, really, because we need to change the consciousness of mankind, and that can only be done with a sacred fire, literally, and because it changes the substance of our consciousness.
And how do they trace the names? How do they trace him? How do they say that? Okay, Samuel, was that his first carnation? You're saying Samuel? He didn't come before that.
No, 70,000 years ago, and many before, and even all of us. We all were on Lemuria, and for millions of years we've been at it. Lemuria started 200,000 years ago.
Has it got any connection to Hermes Trismegistus?
I don't know. I don't know. Probably. I don't know. They all think. But anyway, he was also Christopher Columbus. That was a very important lifetime, because he had to establish a connection with America. So if you take the anagram of America, and it's I am race. So it's a very, very important place. It's where the great light is going to come, even though it might not seem like that now. But I can tell you, it's a very, very important place. It's got to be the way shower. And his last life, he was the illegitimate son of Queen Elizabeth I. And she was meant to be the Virgin Queen, don't forget. And so she had Saint Germain, and then she sent him across to France, apparently. She did pay for his education, but she was jealous of him. He was such a light and so brilliant. And then but they did bring him back. But that was a time of, and he was meant to take over the crown at that time, but he didn't. And so, but he did, he was made Chancellor of the Exchequer, and he took the blame for King James, who was stealing, embezzling the funds. And even to this day, Saint Germain says his name's not cleared. But we get this information through initially Guy Ballard, and then after that, Geraldine Innocente, and more of the Philadelphia group, through the visible light and sound ray. So we know it's all true. Yeah.
All right. So now Christopher Columbus, I know sorry, I'm just going back to this. I was just thinking about this. Christopher Columbus didn't actually find America. He came in like long after it actually originally been found. So,
because apparently the Knights Templars found America way before him.
Well, actually, the Vikings found it 500 years before he actually even set foot there.
Well, I'm sure, probably. And also don't forget, he was the one, he started the Rosicrucians. He started the Freemasons. It was all really good and pure in those days. And then, like most things, which is good, it gets infiltrated by sinister force. So, I mean, the Freemasons was about free house. It means free house, people getting a free house. It was so good and so pure. And then it became like it's just, it's really not a good thing at the moment. Yeah. But all this will come back into the light, because anything that's not true, I mean, anything that's not good is ultimately not true, because it will be transmuted with this violet flame. So what he has brought to humanity now, he's in charge for the next 2,000 years. And the ray predominant is the violet flame, which is the flame of transmutation, forgiveness, mercy. It's the flame of rhythm and invocation, invoking those great beings. It's the flame of ceremony. It's just going to be absolutely magnificent as we move forward. And so
that's a violet flame, you say?
Yeah. So the violet flame is that the sacred fires hold like a virtue. They have an ability. So when you talk about the violet flame has the ability to literally erase the cause, the core, the effect, the record, and the memory. Because if we're still holding a memory, we've still got it in our consciousness. It can totally erase it, like a spiritual eraser, of all the misuse of life, all those etheric records, all the Akashic records, back to the beginning, individually and collectively on our beloved earth. It is a vitally important understanding, to understand and use it daily. Because don't forget, the flames rise, because like attracts like, it goes back to source. So we need to constantly bring it in. And we do it for, just like people say prayers and things, but we do it for those that don't know yet to do it for themselves. Yeah. Okay.
So I know the last podcast we spoke about the meditation, the breathing exercise, the light, kind of sending the light out. Now, what's the thing with the flame? So how do you, how does one do that? How do we get the violet flame going?
In our souls.
Yeah.
First and foremost, you do it through your own I am presence, because I myself can do nothing. Remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Always the great and the I am presence. So the I am presence is our source of life, and it is the distributor of the flames, which we have to call into action. It doesn't come automatically. If it did, we wouldn't be here. It would be ascended.
So, but you've got to meditate this. Is it a meditation?
No, it's not a meditation. It's visualization meditation. Yes, on one side, but it's the calling, the decrees. So in the Old Testament, we're told, decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee, and the light shine upon thy ways. And that is exactly what it is. So it's very different from a prayer, because a prayer is basically like a supplication coming from a human standpoint, whereas a decree is a command coming from the authority of your I am presence, which is the God in action. So it has the authority as the same as the ascended masters, the great Godhead, Alpha and Omega. So that is, by cosmic law, a decree must be made manifest. That's why always at the end, thy will, not mine, be done.
Okay. And the decree then can be found on the websites that's the iamfree.co.za.
Yeah. You just go. And so when you go onto the I Am Free website, it's very comprehensive and easy to navigate, hopefully. But you go onto the top, you'll see Ascension Topics.
I was actually there today.
Okay, so you scroll down and you see all those little boxes, and then you'll see decreeing. The reason for decreeing, decrees, how you decree. There's loads and loads of things. Everybody can do it. And it's all very simple, really. But the most important thing is the feeling. So words without feeling have very little efficacy. Nothing really happens, because it's actually the masculine and the feminine. The masculine is the words, the sort of the thought, whereas the feminine is the feeling. So whether you call it yin or yang, masculine and feminine, I'm not talking about boys and girls here. I'm talking about the action, because that is creation.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, because without one, you can't have the other. So it's a balance.
No,
always.
I mean, you can say something, but if you don't feel it, nothing really manifests. So our true and sincere desire to be forgiven and forgive all life that we have ever hurt or harmed back to the beginning is the key. Yeah.
It's almost like your words and your emotions are going to bed with each other and making a baby of creation of what you want.
The Trinity.
Well, that's a good way of saying it, William. But it's basically like that. It is, truly, it is like that. So the feelings, the Ascended Masters tell us the most important thing, the efficacy of our decrees, 80% of it comes from the feeling and the visualization. Visualizing is also very important because it gives us a feeling as well. So when we visualize the violet flame sweeping and expanding all the way through Johannesburg, through the whole of South Africa, all the way up through Africa and all the countries, there it is, because that is a visual coming down from our iron presence, really.
And then how do you get the feeling? Because, there's a lot of times when I may meditate and I can project what I need to project, but the feeling is not there. If you're projecting light, I can see the light going, but I don't have that like joyous feeling, or I don't have, there's no feeling. It's just I can visualize it and I'm going. So how does one get that feeling?
I'm telling you now, it doesn't, for me, it didn't come quickly. It took a while. And it was when I really started very closely connecting with my own iron presence. That is when I got such a feeling of like ecstasy, and it's such a feeling of like you can't even begin to compare it with any human relationship. And also the Ascended Masters charge it into you. So I can feel when they come. Because I immediately actually become emotional, not sad emotional, but happy, like an emotional feeling, which is, I can't really describe it. It's just such a divine feeling. It's like addictive. And that's, so because it is light. So it takes time, dedication, discipline. And the Ascended Masters don't waste their time with half-hearted cheaters, I can tell you right now. Ones that decide once a week to do their decrees and think they because they are accountable for their energy, and the life they use. So they don't waste their time with half-hearted ones, but they are very merciful, and they're always keeping a watchful eye.
Tell me, are these guys, the Ascended Masters, are they able to come into one's dreams? How are they passing messages? I know you say that they come through as light, and there's people there to kind of take notes and whatever it is, but do these guys appear in dreams as well? Can they come and give you messages like what they did in the biblical days when Moses had his dreams and Noah had his dreams? It was all the angels were appearing most of the times actually in their dreams. So I'm assuming 100%. That's the same route.
Yeah, absolutely. Very often they'll give us a dream which will either wake us up or it'll be a warning or something like that. Often dreams are the way they use it, because the people become aware and awake when they're they wake up and they think, sure, I had that amazing dream. And often, and also they really want us, because I used to be told, because we had Norman, who is actually a messenger, and it's very rare to be a messenger. Don't think it's like a message of the Ascended Masters. But they didn't give us long screeds of stuff. They used to give us like one-liners, and we had to work it out. But I was told constantly, listen, Anthea. And obviously it was really important that I learned to listen. And I'm sort of getting a bit more of the hang of it now, to the still small voice within. Like suddenly I'll walk out and I want to get on my scooter or something, and I've left my keys, and straight away I'll be told I've left my keys. And so then I'm learning these things, so even in the smaller things. And then also when I'm, you just kind of get this, because when you start getting closer to your iron presence, the light comes, and that still small voice becomes more obvious, really.
Okay. Back to Saint Germain. Sorry, I just want to get back to him. You said his last incarnation was now the illegitimate son of the Queen. The last Queen. So
yes, he was known as Francis Bacon, and he was the illegitimate son of Queen Elizabeth I. And so don't forget, that was the life where he wrote all the Shakespeare plays. And so the reason why is William, and I was telling William about this, the name William is actually chosen because it actually means will of the I am. And then Shakespeare uses the pseudonym Shakespeare, shaking a spear to awaken humanity. Because as we know in the Shakespeare plays, and I don't know them too well, but there are very strong messages for humanity there. Yeah.
So Francis Bacon, he was Saint Germain.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And and he was the author. His pen name was William Shakespeare.
Yeah, that was what he used, that as a pseudonym just for those plays. Yeah.
Okay. So Francis Bacon, say that was the last sort of physical incarnation.
Yeah, that was the last visit, because that was in 1684. That was when he took his ascension. But don't forget, after that, he had that 100 years where he was the wonder man of Europe. And he came back, yeah, it was just amazing. He could write with both hands at the same time. He could play all the musical instrument. He could talk all the languages. He could, he was an ascended master, and he never aged. He did come in looking 50 and looking extremely wealthy, because you're not going to infiltrate the courts unless you're wealthy, obviously. But, the ascended masters have absolutely no, they're not interested in wealth, but humanity is, unfortunately, What do they say? It's easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah. Okay, so there's something that intrigued me from the last podcasts. You were mentioning about the gentleman that's here from Venus, that's currently in Indonesia, I think you said.
Yeah.
Now, what has he been doing now since? I'm assuming, is he in physical incarnation that he was since he came? Has he had the same physical incarnation?
Yeah.
So
I believe right now there's a special, and I don't know, it hasn't been confirmed, but I can just, from what I can see and from what we've been told, there seems to have been a special dispensation given for ascended masters to come through like a physical woman and actually take physical embodiment, not just to appear. So, because we know for a fact that Moses is incarnation at the moment, is incarnated at the moment. Elijah is incarnated at the moment. We also we were told by Mr. Senior Bapak that he was waiting for Jesus and Kuan Yin to wake up. So but they come in with a veil of forgetfulness, the way that we always, we all do.
Yeah. And then how do they get over it? How do they figure out who they were previously? I mean, because
the flame in their heart awakens them, their own iron presence.
Okay.
Yeah. But they can also be distracted and go off and get distracted. Don't think, it's like that. Huh? So, yeah. But there's don't forget, because we're in this, it's a very unusual time, because we're in this cosmic in-breath. So what is actually happening is that, and there's such an urgency on the planet, because they need to get the Earth ready in a very short time, because all the other planets are ready. Earth's the only one that isn't ready. And because we became the dumping ground for all these souls lagging behind in evolution, they could no longer incarnate on their own planet. They had to find somewhere to continue. They dumped them on the Earth. The Earth was designed for between 3.5 and 4 billion souls. We've got 10, not 50 like the scientists think, but we've got about 10 evolving on this planet now. So eventually they will have to either go to a planet like Nibiru if they're just refusing to bend the knee, or else they'll go. Saint Germain has created loads of these violet flame temples. Him and Archangel Michael went and got a special dispensation in the astral realm of these violet flame temples. So people leave their bodies, and then they will go to these temples and they'll learn about their own iron presence, and they'll start setting themselves, all the life that they've harmed, free. So they'll start clearing their etheric records, and they'll also balance their use of life. Because in order for us to do the ascension, we cannot have an imbalance in our use of life. We also cannot have baggage. So everything has to have been transmuted and forgiven. And that is the great gift of the violet flame, because it is that fire, that is that sacred fire. There's 7 major rays, and there's probably, we maybe do another thing on it, but there's 7 major rays, that are on this planet, and there are many sub-rays, but the 7th ray is the violet ray. Like the first ray is the sapphire blue, which gives the people protection, faith, power, and the will. And it goes on.
So I thought it might be the rainbow, because I know the last color is violet. So.
Well, the rainbow is actually, it's kind of elemental life. But, there's no red. Red was never on this planet. Neither was black. No red or black originally on this planet, because there was no death. And there was, and if you think, the base chakra was never, ever meant to be red. It was all meant to be green. It was always meant to be pure white. And I believe, that one of the major causes of the misuse of sexual energy, which is one of the major problems on our planet, is because the base chakra is red. So when we fell from grace, the sinister force got in and started changing the colors. And now people focus on it. It's pure white in the base, violet just above the navel, always purifying. the ruby and gold, which is the seat of peace. And then we've got pink in the heart, never green, because they put the head in the heart, thought. It's the feeling in the heart. And then we've got the same emerald, we've got, blue, emerald green, and then literally like a sun above us.
So does that represent the 7 rays that you're talking about?
It does. Yeah, it does represent the 7 rays, yeah. So those are actually our ganglion centers. But don't forget, before we fell from grace, we didn't have these physical bodies that we've got now. We didn't have organs and all that kind of thing. We were just light. We had form, but we were light. We didn't need to eat and all that kind of stuff. We could do it anything we like, but we didn't have to have these organs, yeah.
So this is a prison planet, you're saying? For naughty.
It's a dumping ground.
There's worse than a prison, it's a dump.
No. It's not. It's Saint Germain, planet of freedom. He was up. He never, ever gave up Saint Germain, and neither did Sanat Kumara. He held that vision. He held that kind of desire to set this planet free. And if you look around, how many wonderful people are on this planet. And no wonder Saint Germain wanted to save it. He was determined. He went banging on those gates of heaven. Give me one more opportunity. And it's succeeding. We're still
now,
here.
how long have we got? Because I know you said we're running out of time. So what's the...
I don't know. We are the creators. When humanity, so the more we wake up humanity, the great awakening, we know it's taking place. It's huge. And the more we use the violet flame and the more we use the other sacred fires, the quicker we awaken humanity and the quicker we start dissolving that human consciousness, replacing it with divine consciousness.
I mean, do you know anything about the yugas? The Kali Yuga, the yugas?
Those are the Eastern kind of sort of
periods, time periods.
Yeah, time periods, exactly. I used to kind of study that stuff, but I don't know. I just stick with the teachings because I know it all just makes so much sense. Yeah. I think Yuga was 26,000 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but well, there's a guy that's been studying it quite intensively named Bibu. I can't remember what his name is. A new book of his came out, and he says that the change of the next yugas on March 2025, and that's why there's this huge change we're going through with all of this stuff. And so I just find it interesting because of maybe Saint Germain's saying like, oh, we've got to save quickly. We only got a little bit of time. Maybe it all ends on the March 2025.
Just in a year.
Nothing's going to end. Nothing's going to end. Don't get any ideas about that because we are still here. Then Cinemasters wouldn't have wasted tons and tons of energy, love, and planning for this planet to end. Believe me. And we have got legions of beloved ones from other stars and galaxies coming to help us now. Legions. I mean, look what's happened in the skies. There's aurora lights north and south and all over the world. And that's actually Katatumba rays, mighty divine lightning coming through. It's really amazing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't personally believe it's going to be an end. I think it's going to be a new beginning of something quite.
It is a new beginning, but we've got to bring it in. So I don't kind of go too much with the human teachings, I must tell you, because most of us have got things wrong. Yeah.
Sorry, you said Nibiru earlier, so I've got to bring that up. So because we just actually did an episode on
the Anunnaki.
Anunnaki. So now we went on about Nibiru. So tell me, what does Saint Germain say about Nibiru, or the I am free?
Listen, they talk about an orb, but we were told in our sanctuary by the great divine director through Norman, who I trust. I know he's gone actually in the Ascended Master realm. We've physically seen him. I haven't, but I mean, in his Ascended Master body, Linda saw him very clearly a couple of times in our sanctuary. He's often there. So Nibiru, as we know, is a planet that's like an orphan planet. It doesn't have a solar system. So that's why they are so wanting the gold, because the gold has a very high frequency. So the Anunnaki might have come from Nibiru, and a lot of the laggard souls might have come from there. But they want the gold because of the frequency of Helios and Vesta, which is our sun, the head of the hierarchy of our sun, a very high vibration. So gold is literally a precipitated sun ray. We might have said this, just like rain comes into a physical form from the unformed, so does gold come from the rays of the sun. And they're great beings, the God of nature, God of gold. They literally coalesce the substance and bring it into the earth. So it's very important to keep the frequency of the planet high. So people think it's just for decoration and for jewelry and all that. That's why people want to store it. But it can never be stored. Saint Germain is dematerialized. Fort Knox and House of Windsor and all their storage things. He's literally dematerialized it. And some of it is tungsten covered with gold, and it weighs the same as gold. Depends. They know things which we don't know. It's they have ways and means and knowledge which we don't know. They reasons why they do things. Yeah. And other vaults are just empty, literally. So he can dematerialize it and rematerialize it, obviously like that. So it's not difficult for them. And that will be distributed to all mankind. So that was all what Nasara and Jasara were all about. So that is what, because you were mentioning, Lee, about this person in Indonesia, Mr. Sino. So that he's the incarnation of Sanat Kumara. This is his final gift to the earth before he goes back to Venus, which is basically the lifting of the curse of Cain and the sweat of the brow. Because we all sweat at the brow to make a buck, got to pay the rent. We're the only planet has to pay. It's absolutely absurd because we're this prison.
Because Eve ate that apple. It's all Eve's fault. I still blame it to this day. I'm so upset with Eve because she bloody well ate that apple. Now we just
you haven't eaten any apples as well to contribute to it, huh?
So if I found an apple, I'd throw it at Eve and I'd be like,
no, okay. So, but now listen, there can't be any resentment because
I'm just playing around. I love Eve. I love you, Eve. If you're listening out there, please. Go easy on me.
But that is a thing because if people, I think it's also why we have to, they haven't told us so much, like they haven't taken over the media yet, because the White Hats are fully in command now. I really do believe that, but they haven't just like revealed it all because it would be such a shock. People wouldn't believe it, and there'd be so much hatred, and then down go the vibrations of the planet. They have to keep the vibrations high. So we have to reach that critical point, that tipping point, before they actually bring in the knowledge, what's been happening on our planet.
So what is the mark of Cain or the curse of Cain, according to you, to your...
So in my simple understanding of it, I believe it is where we turned away from the light, the curse of Cain. And so we lost the use of the light. We lost the connection with our own I am presence. And we didn't lose it completely because we can't have life without it. But we didn't have that very, very, clear focus. We used to be able to see our I am presence in the time of the Garden of Eden. Eden means living according to divine wisdom. And so, so I believe that's what, in a simple thing, we turned away from the laws of life and the use of light. And we became sense conscious. So we believe we give our power to the outside world. We believe the outside, but so many people focus on false gods, money, power, status, all these things they think are going to make us happy. And the I presence literally, and I've had it happen to me time and time again, releases exactly what I need.
But do you think it's just because we were just let loose on this dumping ground just to go and do our own thing and we just got lost? Or do you think that there's because I'm just trying to think, how did we became like it? Is it some kind of other entities that are like drawing us towards that side? Why did we go so wrong,
Absolutely. But there were some that stuck to the light. They could see the light, but we did. The psychic and astral realm, and we should do another podcast on it because it's such an important topic. But, the psychic and astral realm is very, very dangerous. And people are so interested in psychic phenomena. People are, want to go and think, and as Saint Germain says, there's nothing of the light there. It's just disembodied people and thoughts and feelings. And, don't forget, every thought creates a form. So if you think about that carefully. So if people there's been so much misuse, even in the comics, and you go into the East. I mean, I was not so long ago in Bali and these places and a lot in India, and they've got these really, and I've just send them light because they are intelligent. They've got consciousness, but these forms, they are hideous. They are not godly. They're terrifying. And they actually embody. So there's the great gods like Ra. Now, Ra is a false god. And people focus on Ra, And it's really a consciousness. So if people are maybe wanting to put themselves on a pedestal or what have you. They're a sitting duck for the consciousness of Ra. Yeah. So that's why if you think about the real way showers, they came in the humblest of the humble. You know, Moses was, even though he was brought up in that royal household, he had a terrible stutter. You know, he was probably quite emotionally damaged. His brother Aaron had to talk for him. You know, we had Jesus coming in as a carpenter. Humble being. They were Essenes, you know. They were really, really humble beings. So, because it's not about intellect, because intellect often is a trip up, we're told. You know, all these degrees and all these things that put people on a pedestal. People worship people that can play, you know, an instrument well, or they can sing well, or they act well, or they got money. And who are they? And yet they're worshipped. That all has to stop. False gods.
Cool. Yeah, no, so you were mentioning about the astral realm and the psychic realm.
Yeah.
I get sometimes a little bit confused because, for example, William and I, we've been doing a lot of practice on remote viewing, where you can kind of, I don't know if you know the topic of remote viewing, but you're able to see on the astral realm certain, you know, I don't get like right into the thing, but will give me a number. I'll be able to, he'll take a photo of an image of, say, a Coke can. He'll put a number to it, send me the number and say, what did I take a picture of? And then I would remote view a Coke can. Now, apparently, according to some of the spiritual places that you go to, the Akashic field or the astral realm or whatever, it's something that we're all connected to. It's something that we all have access to, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, but it's like innate in us. It's there. It's always been there. It's everything that has consciousness is on this Akashic field. And that's why a lot of people, like, for example, Farnsworth, the guy that invented TV, just as an example, the Akashic field, or everything that's ever existed, past, future, present, is in the Akashic field. And when these guys are developing TVs, motor cars, whatever it is, it's not actually their own thought. It's the Akashic field,
like projecting it into their heads.
Yeah, which gets projected. And that's why this guy over here is doing it. So is the guy in America, so is the in Australia. And it's always at the same time. So they're almost like connected on the same field. And they're trying to rumble through that.
Yeah, like every great invention, there was like 10 or something other people around the world coming up with the same thing exactly the same time.
Yeah.
And then it's like one of them just comes right.
You have to be really careful. I actually know quite a bit about remote viewing, but because I work closely with some people who I trust. But you have to be really careful who's directing your remote viewing, because I can tell you now, you can get these negative entities that can actually direct you, and you think you're doing the thing. You have to be super careful when you're dabbling in that role. Because if you don't put on your armor of light, if you don't really put on that major armor of light, which Archangel Michael has said to us, he wouldn't dream of going to the places where we go half the time when we issue the decrees, or you're doing the remote viewing or thing, without a full armor of light. He says so be very, very careful, because I can tell you they are attached to people, especially when you're seeking the light. So you have to be really careful. You always ask for your own eye presence to divinely guide you. And it's good to practice telepathy, make no mistake.
Practice
what of telepathy. And some people are very, very, some people are well trained in remote viewing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But don't put it above clearing your own four earthly bodies, because there's so much desire for phenomena and psychic ability and all these kind of things, which actually are not much use to anybody really until we are really purified. Because the Ascended Masters say for them to use us, we need to purify our bodies. So the most important thing is the daily application, daily calling for that light and sitting in that meditation. The other stuff is okay. If it interests you, why not? But make sure that it's always directed by your own eye presence. Command it and demand it before you set it into action.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because I know people that work in the remote viewing, and they do amazing things. But this one is really well. It's actually an incarnation of Elijah. And if you think about Elijah, even in the time of the Old Testament, he was always the one that listened to the still small voice. Remember? So so that he is very much directed by his own eye presence as to exactly what he needs to do in that realm. And also quick fixes. quick fixes like mushrooms and ayahuasca. It's dangerous, very, very dangerous, because your soul can actually leave the body, can get hijacked. Truly, your soul is a separate body. It's your memory body. It memorizes all a thing. You can literally get hijacked and another entity can come in. You have to be very, very careful.
So tell me the dream world. Is the dream world not part of the astral world or the akashic world or whatever?
Yeah. So when we leave our physical bodies at night, always ask to go to the temples and be for instruction, because otherwise we can have dreams, because we're still gathering karma in the dream time. So it's actually because we have left our physical bodies, we're traveling in our finer bodies, our three finer bodies, and we have experiences there. We're in those akashic records that you're talking about. And we can have hectic things, all this distorted stuff. We don't need to do that. We need to spend our time being instructed and assisting in those temples of light.
Well, yeah, because I mean, if you're talking about getting karma and dreams, then I'm a bit worried, because like I had a dream that night that I was at
murdered somebody.
No, I got I was at someone's offices or whatever, and then the place burnt down, and then I made the insurance claim, and I claimed for 3 million rand for someone else's offices, and I got that money, but it wasn't a dream. So if we're getting karma and dreams, I've got some really bad karma there. I don't know. I better go and sit in a violet flame for a few minutes now when we're finished. But make sure before you go to bed at night. So those things that I sent you, and send them on to Lee, because I don't have Lee's number. The morning and the evening decrees and things, because then you ask and you receive. You'll be taken carefully, well protected by some being of light to where you need to go, where your soul will be, learn the most. Yeah. So when you dreaming at nighttime, do you say take me to the temples? And
I don't dream. I can't remember the last time I dreamed.
I dream that every night.
Geez,
I asked to go to the temples of light. Sometimes I dream if I need to have something told me, but very rarely.
Okay. Wow. And then also, Sanet Kumar, so we're going to go back to that. He's reincarnated in Indonesia. Is he doing any work there? Is there anything that's happening there? Is there anything has he got a YouTube channel?
So amazing. You can't listen. He's just a heavenly soul. So what I'll do is I'll send you, we did a presentation on it was called Connecting the Dots. It was actually, I think it was 2020 or something at Monkey Valley. And we were trying to connect up all these dots to the best of our ability. And I'll send you that. I'll send you that presentation, and you can understand a bit more about Sanat Kumara. But he was that great being from Venus. He's the twin ray of Lady Venus. And you must listen to, I'll send you another link, send it to Lee about the history of Sanat Kumara. It's just makes you weep. Oh. It is such a powerhouse. It is, the heart's just open. I'm telling you. It's just the love of that being for this planet is something to behold. And the faith in each one of us.
Oh, that's beautiful. But I'm just saying, if he's incarnated in Indonesia somewhere, that guy that you said earlier, I'd love to find out what that guy is doing at the moment.
I love it.
Go interview him for your podcast. Go interview him for your things.
No,
don't.
Bring him on the show.
Listen to this presentation. I'll send it to you, and you can see the story of that. Yeah, he's very well hidden. Believe me.
Okay, wonderful.
He's going to. You'll understand more. So I'll say it's a bit over an hour, but it's worth listening to. It's quite interesting. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And is there anything more you want to say about Saint Germain that we've maybe missed?
Gratitude, deep gratitude to that mighty being that never, ever gave up on us. Truly, he came back time and time and time again. He went through incarnations apparently which make ours look like so easy, like angelic compared to what he went through. So that he knew exactly, because you can never really have compassion unless you've been through it. Think about it.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Just such a mighty, mighty being of light, Saint Germain. And he's now got a very, very major focus. It's called the Palace of Man's Purpose. And it's in Venezuela. There's a major focus of him. He's got a major focus in Mount Shasta, in Northern California. That's a very, very, and then obviously Romania, and then all over. I mean, he's just, Cuba is where there's a huge focus of the violet flame. And think, what's in Cuba? It's that Gitmo place, And so there's a huge temple above Cuba, which is actually the head are Zadkiel and Amethyst, the archangels of the violet flame.
Oh, wow. Well, Anthea, thank you so much.
Yeah, nice to have you on again.
Okay, pleasure. All the best.
But yeah, that's it, man. Thanks, guys, and we'll chat to you next week. Enjoy your week, guys. And well, thanks, man, to you too, and speak to you soon.
Cheers, guys.